Okay, now the story of Fast Five is stupid as all hell. I'm just gonna say it. Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, of course, play the same characters they played in the last few movies. Dominic Toretto is Vin Diesel, Brian O'Connor is Paul Walker, and they are in Rio, and they are pretty much bringing the whole gang back together, and they're gonna go and do a heist against this big corrupt, pretty much the leader of Rio, and that's really it. They go steal his money, go destroy shit with cars. They race. They're getting chased by a pretty much a badass. Let's just say a badass cop who is played by The Rock or Dwayne Johnson. And that's really the story of Fast Five. I'm not good at explaining stories. I'm not gonna even try to explain this stupid ass story, and that's good enough. I think I explained it good. That's really all you need. I'm just gonna give it a 6 out of 10 because it's stupid. You don't need a great story for a movie like this, but it's definitely stupid. So let's go on to the acting of the film. Okay, now the acting in Fast 5 is actually much, much better than any other Fast and Furious movie. And I'm just going to say right here, the reason why is because none of these characters are dickheads anymore. And they're not unlikable because they're not a bunch of freaking stereotypes and dickheads, really. Vin Diesel actually shows some concern for people. Even Paul Walker's character, which I always thought he treated like shit the whole freaking series, and I always hated that. I like Paul Walker's character, and Vin Diesel, well, kinda. He was the most likable character from everybody in the Fast and Furious movies. And you know what? He definitely showed some kindness to Paul Walker's character for the first time ever. He wasn't always a dickhead to him, so that was kind of cool. Paul Walker does a decent job here. Not as good as he did in, I thought the first one, but, he's pretty good. Jordana Brewster plays Mia, the love interest. She's just there. She's okay. Tyrese Gibson and Ludacris pretty much play the comedic duo of this film, and they're actually pretty funny. I actually really did like them. Never really liked Tyrese Gibson in most movies. I liked him in this one, though, which is surprising. Of course, you have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson that comes in and plays a badass, and he is so huge in this film. I'm going to talk about him again later on in action, but right now I'm just going to say he is huge in this film, and he's actually pretty awesome. I have to admit, he's probably the best one in here, and he was a great addition to the Fast and Furious movies. He's awesome. I love him. But I'll just say right here, I love him. Anyway, the acting's not that bad. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Let's go on to the action of the film. Okay, now the action of Fast 5. I was expecting this movie to have good action, but terrible characters. So terrible that they would actually distract me from the action. Just like in Fast and Furious, I hated the characters so much in Fast and Furious. Like every other movie, not as bad as Fast and Furious. I really didn't like the characters in that one. I don't know why. But in this one, because the characters were much better, the action definitely kept me entertained. I actually cared about the characters. I actually wanted to know what was actually going to happen. I thought the action was pretty fucking badass. I thought the special effects, when they used some, were great. Most of it looked practical, so all the car crashes, all that looked great. There was some hand-to-hand fighting scenes which looked awesome. Vin Diesel versus The Rock. Oh, God. Alright? I have this thing where I call it a man spark, where it's the same thing when you're watching porn, you're about to, climax, except it's when you see two dudes that are big and buff just beating the shit out of each other. And that sounds kind of gay, but I'm going to say it right here. My nuts were about to explode because of the manliness. And I thought the world was just going to end because when they started to fight, I don't know what happened. It was just the world started to shake. I felt a tremor in my balls, and everything was about to explode. So that kind of sounded gay, and I should probably cut that out of the review, but screw it. I don't care. I'm going to leave it in there because that was the manliest fight I've seen in a long time. Screw the Expendables. Well, actually, not screw the Expendables. Put these two in the Expendables, because then the Expendables 2 will probably be the most manliest thing, not even movie ever. Anyway, the action was great. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Let's go into entertainment, and let me wrap this review up. Okay, now the entertainment of the film, I'm going to say I really enjoyed this film. I'm very surprised I actually enjoyed this as much as I did, because I really did. I really despise Fast and Furious. I hated it so much I didn't even put it on my top 10 because it wasn't fair. I knew it wasn't a movie for me, even though it was an action film. It was just a movie for the people that love retarded freaking, like movies like, I don't know, a 50 Cent movie or something. I don't know. It was always that kind of movie to me where it was just people that are all into freaking rap music and all that stuff. And I'm not into that, and I hated the Fast and Furious movies. This one, I mean, it still was the same stuff, but it actually had somewhat decent characters, pretty badass and inventive action scenes, and really, I just enjoyed it all together. I'm just gonna say entertainment is a 9 out of 10 for me, same thing I gave action, and overall, it gets a 31.5 out of a 40 if I had to accumulate the 6, the 7.5, the 9, and the 9 I gave. So there you go, 31.5 out of a 40, that's much higher than I thought I was gonna give it. Go check it out, it was actually pretty good. If you're like me, and hate all the other Fast and Furious movies, you'll actually like this. And hell, critics are liking it, so must be pretty good. Anyway, there you go. Thank you, and goodbye. Also, one more thing before I go, I'm going to be doing a Bourne trilogy review tomorrow, so look forward to that tomorrow. I'm going to be reviewing all 3 of the movies that are out now because of the new movie that's coming out next year. So anyway, that's all I want to say. Thank you, and goodbye.